Hi book lovers, welcome back to my channel. I know we're already a little bit past halfway through the year, halfway through 2021 since we are well into August, but I figured since we still have a couple more months left in the year, I would do a video about some of my most anticipated romance releases that are coming out in the rest of 2021. So here are all the books that I'm excited to read that are coming out later this year. First, I'm going to start off with some books that don't have set release dates yet but are supposed to be coming out this year. This first one is one with a beautiful cover. It is Death by Laura Thalassa. It's the fourth and final book in her Four Horsemen series, her fantasy romance series, and of course it is about death, who most of us have been waiting for. I am so freaking obsessed with this cover. It's definitely my favorite one of the series, and I have a feeling that Death, like this book, will probably be my favorite of the series as well. Again, there's no set release date, but Laura Thalassa has confirmed that this book is coming out this year, and apparently this heroine is the one person on earth that death can't kill. I'm also dying for Bitter Secrets by Mia Knight, which is the sequel to Bitter Heat, one of my favorite books and a book that I reread all the freaking time. I love Mia Knight. She's one of my favorite dark romance authors, and we have been waiting so long for the sequel. Bitter Heat came out in 2019, I think, so it's been a good 2 years. The series is a second chance romance between a couple who were formerly married. It's not like a dark romance, but there are some dark elements to it, so I wouldn't recommend it if you don't like dark romances. Bitter Secrets book 2 is supposed to come out this year. It was supposed to come out earlier in March, but the date got pushed back. I personally don't really mind waiting. I love Mia Knight and would wait forever for her books. From the author's updates that I read, we might be getting more than just 2 books, and she's planning on finishing the whole series before actually publishing them. She also has a Patreon, which I am very tempted to get. I don't really do any Patreons for authors though, so I don't know, but she is one of the few authors that I am very tempted to do that for. And then I am dying for more Danielle Lori books. Danielle Lori is one of my favorite mafia romance authors. I became obsessed with her last year, and she's planning on releasing another mafia romance book, another maid book. I'm not sure if The Purest Addiction is supposed to be coming out this year, but I'll just include it in this list to maybe manifest it. She's also planning on releasing My Dear Husband, which is a cheating romance. Cheating romances, I'm not gonna lie, are kind of my kryptonite. I kind of love reading them. I love the angst, though a lot of them, I will say, are not that great. Only certain authors can really make them work, and I am 99% sure Danielle Lori will make this work. And I think after My Dear Husband is released, Danielle Lori is going to work on The Vintage Club. This was a standalone that she teased at the end of The Darkest Temptation, book 3 in the Maid series. This is a standalone romance. I don't think it's going to be any sort of dark romance, but I really love the snippet at the end of The Darkest Temptation, so I'm so excited for it. It's supposed to be enemies to lovers with a rich hero and poor heroine. A historical romance that I have been dying for that doesn't have a set release date is The Sinful Ways of Jamie Mackenzie by Jennifer Ashley. This is the second generation of the Mackenzie series. Jamie Mackenzie is the firstborn son of Ian and Beth Mackenzie. Ian and Beth were the main characters of The Madness of Lord Ian Mackenzie, which is one of my favorite historical romances, but we don't really know anything else besides that Jamie is Ian and Beth's son. Still, I'm excited about it. I love the Mackenzies and I love Ian and Beth so much. I'm also dying for another Elena Armas book. Her debut, The Spanish Love Deception, is one of my favorites of this year, and she's going to be writing a book for the heroine's best friend, Rosie, and her book is called The American Roommate Experiment. And the last one of the no release date books is Queen by Katie Robert. This one is the third and final book of the Bloodline Vampire series, which I recently just read. I really enjoyed it. They're basically just vampire smut. It's a reverse harem vampire romance series, and I'm really excited to see how the series will end with this book. Moving on to all the August books, but since we only have like a little bit over a week left of the month, I'm just gonna talk about some recent August releases, the books that just released that are on my TBR. There's Battle Royal by Lucy Parker, which is a foodie romance, a baking romance. It's got the Grumpy Sunshine trope, and the main characters are competing to win the opportunity me to bake a cake for a princess. The Dating Playbook by Farrah Roshan, which is a football romance. It's got two of my favorite tropes, fake dating and best friends to lovers. The hero is a former football player who wants to get back into the NFL, and he gets his best friend, who is also a personal trainer, to help him with this. And because they don't want people to know that she's his personal trainer for some reason, she accidentally tells a journalist that she is his girlfriend. So We Meet Again by Suzanne Park, also just released. This is another foodie romance. The heroine quits her investment banking job to try to be a YouTuber. She tries to relaunch her cooking channel, her Korean cooking channel, with the help of the hero. The Good Girl by Shiloh Clark, who is also Jack Harbin, has just released. This is a smutty novella. It's pure erotica. The heroine puts herself up for auction, and this rich billionaire wins her, and he is not her fiance. So there's lots of steam, and there is cheating in this novella. The Dating Dare by JC Lee, released earlier this month. The heroine falls for her best friend's new brother-in-law, and they start this little fling. It does have an end date for when the hero leaves for Paris, but of course things get a little bit more emotional than they thought. Moving on to the rest of the August releases that haven't come out just yet, and also moving on to a different location. This one I'm sure is on many people's TBRs. It is The Heart Principle by Helen Huang. We're finally getting Kwan's book, and he has this little fling with the violinist heroine. The heroine herself is dealing with burnout and also her boyfriend wanting to open up the relationship, which is why she decides to have one night stands with Kwan. I got the book of the month hardcover, but I still haven't read it yet. I don't know why. I've been pushing it back, but hopefully I'll get to it before the release date, which is out at the end of the month. Bombshell is one of my most anticipated historical romances for this month, and honestly for this year. It is the spin-off of The Day of the Duchess, which is one of my favorite Sarah MacLean books. It's about Caleb and Cecily. They were secondary characters in The Day of the Duchess, and the chemistry between them was so good, and we never really knew whether we would be getting a book for them or not, and finally, like 2 years later, I think we are. So for these two, she is his best friend's sister, and Cecily is also part of this little girl gang called Hell's Bells. The Highland Fling by Megan Quinn is also releasing this month. I really love any kind of romance that's set in Scotland, and this one is a contemporary Highlander romance. The heroine finds this job at a coffee shop in the Highlands, and she falls for the rugged Scot who doesn't like her. The Royals Next Door by Karina Halley is a royal adjacent romance. Literally, a prince and princess move next door to the heroine, and it's also kind of a bodyguard romance. She falls for those royals' bodyguard. There's also a new K.A. Knight book coming out in August. This one is called Stepbrother's Darling. It is a stepbrother reverse harem romance, and I was very intrigued when I first saw it. I don't know why I am trash for these kinds of stories, but I'm not gonna lie and say that I'm not going to read this one. So basically, the heroine falls for her 3 new stepbrothers. The Bastard's Betrayal by Katie Robert is the only book on this entire list that I have read, but I'm including it anyway because I did enjoy it, and I know a lot of people are also excited about it. It's a second generation mafia romance series, a spin-off of the O'Malley series. The heroine finds out that her boyfriend, her supposedly normal boyfriend, is also part of the mafia. She breaks it off with him, and he ends up kidnapping her on her wedding day to someone else. It was a really promising start to this new mafia series, and I'm really excited to read more about this heroine's sisters. And this last one is one that a publisher just sent to me, and as soon as I read the blurb, it sounded really cute. Hitched to the Gunslinger by Michelle MacLean is a historical rom-com with a gunslinger hero. He's a gunslinger who wants to retire, but instead he finds himself in the middle of this vendetta and with a new bride. For September, there are so many romances that I am dying to read, and at the top of the list is The Legacy by Elle Kennedy. This is book 4.5 in the Off-Campus series, one of my favorite college sports romance series. This is like a Where Are They Now kind of book with 4 novellas, I believe, about the 4 different couples. So we get to revisit the series and all the characters, and I'm very excited, and most excited about Logan and Grace. I am also dying for Saint by Sierra Simone. This one is the 3rd book, the 3rd standalone in her very holy romance series. This one is an MM romance with a monk hero. It's got a second chance romance, and it's also brother's best friend. and I just got an arc of this one and I'm so crazy excited. We're getting a new Grace Calloway book in September. It's Pippa and the Prince of Secrets. This is the sequel to Olivia and the Masked Duke, which we read this year for Historical Romance Readathon. I enjoyed it so much and I've been dying to read more of the series. Pippa, the heroine, has been recently widowed and she's just joined this gang that's kind of like Charlie's Angels. And the hero is this powerful underground figure who has loved her since he was a boy. Another highly anticipated read for me is Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune. I recently won this arc from Goodreads and I totally screamed over it. Every time TJ Klune puts out a book, I honestly don't even care what it's about because I'll read it anyway. But this one is like another magical kind of fantasy read like The House in the Cerulean Sea. It's got a ghost hero who doesn't want to cross over and he's given 7 days left to live, and he ends up falling for the ferryman who is supposed to carry his soul over to the other side. Kate James is coming out with the last book in her Hades series called Timber, and I am so excited because that means I get to finally binge on the entire series. I loved her Madison Kate series and I've been dying to read more from her after I finish that, but I don't really know what this series is about. It's kind of a spin-off of Madison Kate. I think it's MC or there's some bikers, but all I know for sure is that it's another reverse harem. Portrait of a Scotsman by Evie Dunmore is also releasing this month. This is her third historical romance. I loved her debut, but I've heard some iffy things about her second book, so I might end up skipping that one. But this third one does sound so good. It's got a Scottish hero. He's a self-made man and he enters a marriage of convenience with his business rival's daughter. This next book is part of a series that I feel like not a lot of people know about, but I'm really excited about it. It's Past Due by Roxy Rivera, book 3 in the Death Collection series. It's an MC/mafia romance series. I love Roxy Rivera, but she hasn't really released that many books in the past few years, and the first book, the one that I read, released back in 2014. So I've been waiting about 7 years for that couple's continuation. I don't know why she decided to make book 3 the continuation of book 1. These two books follow the same couple, so I've been waiting quite a long time for the sequel. Next on the September list is The Shoddy Setup by Lily Vale. This is a second chance romance with a very cute cover. The South Asian heroine signs herself and her boyfriend up on this matchmaking company to prove that they are the perfect match, but instead she ends up matched with her ex and high school sweetheart. She and her ex end up working together to renovate this beach house, and it just sounds really cute. Sing You Home by Ava Hunter is a debut that sounds so good, mainly because I'm a total sucker for amnesia romances. It's a second chance romance between a married couple, but the wife gets into an accident and loses all her memories of her husband. Her husband is also a famous country music star. Witch Please by Anne Aguirre sounds like so much fun. It's a witchy kind of romance. The heroine is a witch, the hero is a baker. He's a bakery owner and a virgin, so it's a witchy foodie romance. A Lot Like Adios by Alexis Daria is coming out next month. It's a romance between childhood best friends. He left her and he left town when he turned 18, but now he's back and they're both working together on this marketing campaign. I love this cover so freaking much. This cover and You Had Me at Ola, they're so stunning. I am also really excited about The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. I have heard nothing but amazing things for this book. It's a debut book. It's set in the STEM field and there's also a fake relationship, a fake dating trope. The heroine ends up kissing the first man that she sees to convince her best friend that she is in a relationship, and of course she ends up falling for that guy. It just sounds really nerdy and adorable and fun. The Duchess Hunt by Lorraine Heath is book 2 in the Once Upon a Dukedom series. I read book 1 and adored it, and I'm so excited about this sequel. It's about the Duke who the heroine from book 1 didn't marry. He still needs a bride, a duchess, so he gets the heroine who is his secretary to find one for him. I love historical romances where the main characters are from 2 different social classes, so this one I cannot wait to read. Next is First Love Take 2 by Sajni Patel. We've got a second chance romance with some forced proximity. The heroine gets a new roommate only to find out that he is none other than her ex. Another witchy romance that's coming out in September is The Ex-Hex by Erin Sterling. It's a second chance romance where the heroine accidentally places a hex on her ex-boyfriend boyfriend. So when he returns to town, things go a little bit crazy for him and their town. And for the last book of September, I'm just gonna include this Cora Riley book, even though I'm not entirely sure I'll read it, but it's By Sin I Rise, which is a spin-off of the Born in Blood series. I know a lot of people love that series and a lot of people love Cora Riley, so I'm including this one in this list. The cover is gorgeous, and I think the heroine is the daughter of the main couple from the first Born in Blood book. And now for all the October romance releases, at the top of my list is A Shadow in the Ember by Jennifer L. Armentrout. JLA has teased this book in her Facebook group so freaking much, and I am dying to read it. It is the spin-off of the Blood and Ash series, the first book in the spin-off series. It's another fantasy romance, this time about one of the gods in the Blood and Ash world, about Nikos, or however you pronounce his name, and his consort. He's the king of the gods, at least in From Blood and Ash, and she is the maiden who is tasked with assassinating him. Also high up on my TBR for October is the Scouts anthology, mainly because Penelope Douglas has a novella in it. The anthology's theme is about this group called River Scouts, so kind of like Boy-Girl Scouts, I guess. Penelope Douglas's novella is called Ash City, and it's a dark romance. The heroine's ex, who is a bounty hunter, he's hiding someone, and she recognizes the guy as the boy that she met 14 years ago. I am dying for the new Nalini Singh book, which is out in October. It's Archangel's Light, book 14 in the Guild Hunter series. It's a great urban fantasy slash paranormal romance series, but I do recommend reading the series in order. In this one, we're getting an MM romance. We're finally getting Ilium and Aiden's book, and the cover is so stunning. It's easily my favorite cover of the entire series. Also on my list is Love, Comment, and Subscribe by Kathy Yardley. I've been wanting to read Kathy Yardley for a while, and I saw this one was coming out soon, and I got really excited. It sounds so good. The main characters were high school nerds and frenemies. They've now grown up to be YouTubers, famous YouTubers. The heroine is a beauty YouTuber, and the hero is a gamer. The two of them end up collabing to sort of revive their channels, and they go viral. Not Your Average Hot Guy by Gwenda Bond. It sounds like so much fun. It's a paranormal rom-com. The heroine accidentally gets involved with a cult, and they end up summoning this demon, the son of Satan. He offers to help the heroine to stop the cult from destroying the world. The third and I think final book in the Dark Court Rising series by Beck McMaster is also coming out. It's called Curse of Darkness, and I can't wait for it. I loved book one so much, but after that cliffhanger, I kind of decided to wait until the series was out before continuing the next two books. It's a fantasy romance series about fae and kingdoms. It does have similar vibes to A Court of Thorns and Roses, so if you love that series, I would say give this one a try. Gianna Darling also has a new release this month. It's called Dangerous Temptation. I haven't read her in a while, but I do love the ones that I've read. This one sounds amazing. It's a dark-ish forbidden romance. The heroine is given to her new guardian, who is the hero. Next on my list is The Brightest Star in Paris by Diana Biller. This is kind of a standalone sequel to The Widow of Rose House. That one was her debut gothic romance, and I really liked it. And this book is about that hero's brother. It's a second chance romance between a prima ballerina and the American she fell in love with over a decade ago, right before the siege of Paris. A book that's pretty high up on my TBR is The Temptation by Nikki Sloan. This is book 5 in the Filthy Rich American series, which I absolutely love this year. This one is about the last Hale family member, the youngest of the family, Vance. I have no idea what it's about. I don't know who his heroine is, but I can't wait for it because I just want more Nikki Sloan books. The next Like Us book by Kristen Becca Ritchie is also coming out in October. It's Infamous Like Us, book 10 in the series. I'm a little bit behind. I haven't read book 9 yet, but books 8 through 10 are all about the throuple about Akara, Sully, and Banks. Their first book for me was okay. I didn't love it, but I do want to continue reading to see how their story continues. We're getting a new Olivia Dade book, All the Feels. This is another sort of celebrity romance, like spoiler alert. I finally started reading this author this year, mainly because my library has been getting a lot of her audiobooks. So in All the Feels, we have a famous TV show actor, hero, and the new PR person who's been hired to keep him in line. It's been a hot minute since I last read Serena Bowen, but I do love her, and her newest release, her newest upcoming release called Boyfriend, sounds so good. It's a new adult college romance. The hero is a hockey player, and he's also just put himself up for hire as a rent-a-boyfriend for Thanksgiving. I'm also excited about a new Joanna Shupe book called The Lady Gets Lucky, and I love the clinch cover for this. It has such amazing old school cover vibes. I will admit I haven't read the first book in the series, in the Fifth Avenue Rebel series, mainly because I heard it wasn't that great, so I might end up skipping that one to read this sequel. It's got a scoundrel hero who gives seduction lessons to the wallflower heroine. There are a couple donut-themed romances that are coming out later this year, and this first one is called Donut Fall in Love with Me by Jackie Lau. It sounds super cute and I love the cover. We have a baker heroine and a actor hero. They start to get together and he asks her for help on this celebrity baking show. And the last October book on my list is The Perks of Loving a Wallflower by Erica Ridley. This one is an FF historical romance in the Wild Winchester series, the sequel to The Duke Heist. The series is basically about this heist family, and the heroine is this master of disguises. She can turn herself into anyone, a man or a woman, and her newest client is the lady heroine. November has one of my most anticipated romances of the entire year, and it is another Penelope Douglas book. It's Fall Boys, which is book one in her Hellbent series, which is the spin-off of the Fall Away series. It's a second generation series. I don't think there's a set date yet, but it's supposed to be coming out in November. This first book is Hawk's book. Hawk is the son of Casey and Jax. Their book was Falling Away, and we do know Hawk's heroine's name. Her name is Aro Marquez. The other donut-themed romance is The Donut Trap by Julie Tu. Here we have a heroine who moves back home with her parents after college and works at their family's donut shop. The hero is her old college crush who ends up helping her with the shop. And also I saw Meg Cabot love this book on Goodreads. Like, imagine being Julie Tu, a debut author, and getting a 5-star review from Meg Cabot. I would die. A book that I want to read mainly just for the title is How to Marry Keanu Reeves in 90 Days by K.M. Jackson. It's a road trip romance with the best friends to lovers trope. The heroine finds out that Keanu Reeves is getting married, so she decides to go on a road trip from New York all the way to LA in order to stop Keanu's wedding, and she takes her best friend with her and ends up falling in love with him instead. This next one sounds literally like my perfect kind of read. It's Empire of Desire by Rena Kent. I have read Rena Kent before. I've only read one of her books. I didn't love it, but I have been wanting to try more of her, and this one sounds perfect. I saw it on Goodreads while I was looking for November releases and immediately added it to my TBR. It's got a marriage of convenience, it's got an age gap, and the hero is the heroine's father's best friend. It sounds spicy and so good. Also on my TBR is a modern Pride and Prejudice retelling. It's called A Certain Appeal by Vanessa King. It's a debut with this really pretty cover, and like I said, it's a Pride and Prejudice retelling, but this one is set in New York City burlesque. And of course their names are Liz Bennett and Will Darcy. I was sent this arc of Never Fall for Your Fiancé by Virginia Heath, which is also out in November. It looks like a really cute historical rom-com. The Earl hero, he needs a fake fiancé to keep his matchmaking mother away. He ends up hiring the heroine to be that fake fiancé because she's in desperate need of some money to save her family. We're getting the next book in the Black Dagger Brotherhood prison camp series by J.R. Ward. This one is called The Wolf. It's actually the second werewolf type of paranormal romance from J.R. Ward this year. She released one earlier this year called Claimed, which I still need to read. Catherine Moon is coming out with a release this month. It's called Bad Alpha. It's book 5 in the Sweet Omegaverse series, but technically it's her third book in the series. The other 2 books are written by some other authors. It is an Omegaverse romance, possibly reverse harem since it is Catherine Moon. I read the other 2 books that she wrote in the series, this duet, and I really like them. It was like my first intro to Omegaverse. So I've been wanting to read more, and I am very intrigued that this book has an alpha heroine. Usually they're heroes, and also this alpha heroine is an assassin who's been tasked to kill the hero. This next November historical romance is one that I want to read mainly because of the cover. It's so gorgeous, but it does also sound good. The hero needs a wealthy bride, and the heroine wants to experience the world more and experience the bedroom more. So they strike up a deal where he teaches her some stuff and she'll help matchmake for him. We're getting a new fantasy romance, the start to a new fantasy romance series from Scarlett St. Clair. King of Battle and Blood is out in November, and I'm really looking forward to it. I really liked the first book, the only book that I've read from her. It was the first book in her Hades and Persephone retelling, so I really want to read this one. It's the first book in the Adrian and Isolde series. It's a fantasy romance series with vampires, which does kind of remind me of another popular fantasy romance series with vampires, but it does sound pretty good. The hero is a vampire king, and the heroine needs to marry him in order to end a war. She also tries to assassinate him, but he stops her before she's able to. So a fantasy romance with vampires and a marriage of convenience. And the last November book that I'm looking forward to is called Reg I'd Like to F, which is an anthology. It's another historical romance anthology with Sierra Simone, Eva Lee, Nicola Davidson, Joanna Shupe, and Adriana Herrera. I really love their other one, Duke I'd Like to F, even though I only read 3 of the novellas, but still they're really good. And I'm just really excited for more historical romances from Sierra Simone and Adriana Herrera. And now for all the December releases, all the upcoming December romances. There aren't actually that many, at least compared to the other months, but at the top of my list is the new Stacey Reid book. It's A Scoundrel of Her Own, book 3 in the Sinful Wallflower series. If you know me, you know I love Stacey Reid, and I just adore this series so much. The couple for this third book was teased in book 2, and the chemistry between them was on fire. We all know Stacey Reid writes some steamy historical romances, so I have high hopes for this one. This next December release is by an author that I have not read yet, but I love the sound of this one. It's The Love Con by Ceresia Glass. It's got cosplay, friends to lovers, and fake dating. The heroine wants to win this reality show cosplay competition, so she asks her best friend to roleplay being a couple with her in order to win the final round. We're getting a start to a new series from Penny Reid this month as well. It's called Homecoming King, the first book in the 3 King series. It's a sports romance. The hero is a football player, and it seems like there might be some sort of fake dating here. There's a proposition in the blurb, so that could be anything. I do enjoy Penny Reid, and I am looking forward to something new from her. We're getting another Kristen Becker Ritchie book later this year. It's an FF romance called Love and Other Cursed Things. It's set in this coastal town. It's got opposites attract. One of the heroines is one of the most hated people in town, and the other heroine is part of town royalty. And the last book that's coming out in December this year that sounds so good is Never Cross a Highlander by Lisa Rain. This one is a Black Scottish Highlander romance, and the cover is A+. The blurb says that there's some Mr. and Mrs. Smith vibes, so I'm guessing there's gonna be some action involved, and I can't wait to read it. And that's it for this giant list of upcoming 2021 romance releases. Hopefully you found some that sounded really good to you and that you added to your TBR. If you have any on your TBR that aren't on my list and want to share, please feel free to. I'll link all the books down in the description below, probably by month because there are just so many. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!